Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome along to the Secrets of Social Media Marketing workshop. My name is Jeremy Carter, and I'm presenting the workshop today on behalf of Canterbury Council Economic Development Department. Just a reminder, if you can, to please keep your videos switched off. We will be recording this webinar, and some of that may get recorded along with it if you don't wish to do so. Today's webinar will run for about an hour, and then we'll have an opportunity to do question and answer following the session. If you have questions, please do type them in as we go through the webinar today, and I'll do my very best to be able to answer these questions as we go. We've got a lot to cover in the next hour. As you understand, social media is a fairly broad topic, but what I want to do is to really give you some specific strategies that you can use to be able to get some marketing results for your small business through using social media. Can I just get a thumbs up in the chat box, or an okay if you can hear me okay? Fantastic, thank you so much. So just a little bit of background on myself. I've come from a corporate background. So I used to be the Oceania Managing Director of a US-owned technology company. Left the corporate world about 15 years ago and have worked as a business coach since then. So my real passion is working with owners of small to medium enterprises to help them achieve what they want out of their business. And at the end of the day, small business is designed to give us a balance of both cash flow and lifestyle. One of the areas in which business owners very often struggle with is the marketing side of things. How do we attract the right level of business? So I want to talk to you about that today and to make sure that you're able to strike the right balance in terms of the amount of time and effort that you put in and the results that you actually get back from that. So before we jump into social media, I just want to talk to you a little bit about, well, what is marketing? And at the end of the day, marketing is buying customers. What we want to do is we want to have a budget of either time or money that we want to convert into leads or selling opportunities. And in order to do this, the process of marketing is really all about communication, communicating with our target clients, and also educating them on why we're the right choice for them. So there's two rules with marketing. You might want to write these down. Number one, it's better to be different than it is to be the best. Number one, it's better to be different than it is to be the best. Number two, it's about consistency. We need to know how and why we're different, and we need to be able to repeat that message over and over again. So this is one of the things that you want to actually have a think about with social media, because communication, at the end of the day, I've got a definition for this. Communication is the response that you get. And when we think about the process of communication, communion means one mind. Shun means state of. So communication is the process of thought transference, where we take an idea out of our head and we want to transfer it into the heads of one or many other people. So if that doesn't actually occur, then we can say communication hasn't occurred. So we want to be able to use social media as a very powerful mechanism to be able to communicate to our target clients and to be able to educate them. Now, we did a webinar just last week all about branding. And when it comes to marketing, what's critical to keep in mind is we need to be very, very clear about who we want to get our message out to. And the temptation in a startup business very often is we feel like we want to sell to the world. We want to sell to everybody. We don't want to limit our options. But one of the things to understand is that by actually reducing our target market, our perfect client avatar, it becomes a lot easier for us to be able to market to them. And when we look at your ideal target clients, we break them up in terms of both demographics and psychographics. So demographics are very easily measurable traits like age, gender, ethnicity, or geography. Psychographics comes a lot more down to psychology, understanding what goes on inside people's heads, what are the things that they think about, what are the things that they worry about, and where do they hang out. And when we get this sort of a profile on our customers, and I'll talk today about how we do that, it then makes it very, very easy for us to craft a solution or a message to be able to speak to that audience. So one of the things is if we attempt to craft a message that speaks to everybody, then we end up speaking to nobody. So having a much tighter target market is going to get you a much, much better result. So when it comes to social media, something worth remembering is that you can make all sorts of claims about your business and about why you're the best. But what other people say about your business counts for much, much more than what you say. So we're going to talk about how we get people talking about our business in the right way and understanding that a testimonial from a third party is a lot more valuable than us giving a testimonial about our product. So social media has been an absolute revolution for small business because what it's done is it's really transformed the way in which we communicate. We've moved from a world which was dominated by traditional media, the televisions, the newspapers, and this was very much a one-to-many model, providing very static media, very promotional, and is quite detached the way in which we engaged with the traditional media. But when we look at what social media has done is it's turned every single one of us into a content creator. So it's very much a many-to-many platform. It's very dynamic and conversational. People love to participate. It's very easy to share and it's interactive. So social media is simply word of mouth multiplied by 100 in terms of how fast and how far your business can go. When we look at traditional marketing, a referral, I would argue, is worth 4 leads from any other source. Yeah, if one of your top clients refers someone they know to your business, they're going to typically be a great client. They're not going to come in, they're not going to bargain on price. They're typically going to be grateful that you're actually able to help them out. But we can use social media to be able to generate a lot more referrals in a much better way, in a much more leveraged way. So we were hoping to get today's broadcast up on the Canterbury Bankstown TV Live. Unfortunately, we've had a technical glitch, so we haven't been able to do that, but we will be making a recording available. So looking back to really what social media has done is it's given customers a voice. And I want to share with you a story about a musician named Dave Carroll, and he was traveling by United Airlines in the US. And he looked out the window and saw them loading it onto the plane and throwing it. And anyhow, they broke it and he wasn't happy. And he went and he asked them for compensation and they said no. So what he did was he actually wrote a song called United Breaks Guitars. He put it out there on social media. In 4 days, the United share price dropped 20%, costing shareholders over $180 million of value. So this one video had almost $20 million views. So one of the secrets to social media is timing, but one of the amazing things is when we find the right recipe, we can create posts that go viral and are much, much more successful than us having to spend large amounts of money. You see, when it comes to marketing, you can choose one of 2 things. You can either do marketing that's expensive and dumb, yeah, where you take a pile of cash and we're going to convert it into a pile of opportunities, or we can focus on marketing that's smart and cheap. So that is, we don't need to spend a lot of money, but we need to use a lot more creativity. And that's what we're going to talk about today with social media. So Australians love social media on average. Australians are on social media platform 104 minutes a day. You can see for that graph, back in 2010, Australia was the most dedicated social network user in the world. We're not #1 anymore, but I think it's pretty interesting that the average Australian is sitting on social media for an hour and a half every day. So what do you think that they've stopped doing? Where are they finding this time? And for a lot of people, what has happened is it's come out of their television time watching budgets. And people are using social media to fill in those slack times. And And one of the things you need to think about with social media is, well, if we can get people's eyeballs, if we can get their attention, if we can get them engaged and involved with us, that presents us with a big opportunity to be able to market our brands and our businesses. So we could easily run a 3-day workshop on social media. We haven't got 3 days, we've got 1 hour. So we really want to talk about the couple of key platforms that are going to make a difference for you in your businesses. We're going to talk about Facebook, we'll talk about Instagram, we'll talk about LinkedIn as well. And these are the ones that you really want to focus on. There are some other social media platforms out there. I think the challenge for small business owners is really finding the time to generate a return on investment. It's very easy to spend a lot of time on social media and not to get a great result or outcome. So what we want to do is to figure out how do we invest our time in the best possible way. When we look at Australia, there's over 15 million unique Facebook accounts. There's 14.5 million users on YouTube every month, 5 million on Instagram, a couple of other social media platforms like Tumblr, LinkedIn, Twitter, and also Pinterest. But what you see is that 60% of people access social media every day or most days. And over a third of people will check their social media over 5 times a day. So it's out there, it's happening. What we need to do is to figure out which platforms we're going to actually be a part of. And I'll share with you the recipe for coming up with a strategy. By the way, at the end of today, if you would like a copy of the slides, we're also going to give you an option to do that via the feedback survey. Now, when it comes to the different social media platforms, you also need to have a think about, well, what's the right language to be able to use? Because the platforms all come from different places. You know, Facebook was originally, Mark Zuckerberg invented it as a way to keep up to date with other people in college. So Facebook is very much a friendly platform. It's all about family. And, you know, the sort of post we'd see on Facebook is people saying hi to their friends, talking about, well, here I am eating donuts. Instagram arose initially as a program to be able to take digital camera photos and put fancy filters on them and then publish that to Facebook. So Instagram is a lot more of a visual medium and really more artistic photos, but it has a big place in social media, so we'll be talking about that. YouTube is the second most popular search engine in the world. Think about that for a moment. YouTube is the second most popular search engine in the world. And yes, it is a social media platform, specifically around video-based content. LinkedIn is basically Facebook for business, an online resume, but this is a very powerful business-to-business development platform. And I'm going to give you some of my key LinkedIn strategies today, because that's, I think, the #1 platform for business-to-business generation. And we'll also talk about Facebook. Pinterest is simply about collecting what we call pin boards of amazing images. So it's a bit like Instagram, but it's easier to be able to organize content together and share that with others. TikTok is something that's taking off massively with the teens at the moment, and there's lots of online dancing and very short little video clips under 30 seconds on TikTok. And Twitter used to be a monster in social media, but these days it's really only good for keeping up with celebrities and politicians and then releasing their very short 160-character headlines about what they're actually doing. Across these platforms, what we'll also typically see are different types of memes. And a meme is a visual form of communication comprising both an image and text to be able to communicate an important point. So there are tools out there like Hootsuite that will allow you to schedule posts and post them across a whole bunch of platforms all at once. I think you need to be quite careful with using these, however, because the same language doesn't necessarily translate on the different platforms. So you need to make sure that you're communicating in an appropriate way with the platform that you're using if you want to get great results. So when we look at the use of social media, organizations and businesses really think about it as an opportunity for public relations. How do we get our news to the marketplace? How do we prove that we're a legitimate business organization? how do we market and sell our products, create brand awareness, and also do a little bit of reputation management. So organizations have an agenda with social media to be able to make money. And yes, Mark Zuckerberg didn't start Facebook as a community service. It's a publicly owned company, and its number one intent is to be able to actually generate revenue. And the way in which it does that is by selling advertising. There was a study a little while ago that said that we sell our souls to Facebook for about $13 a year. So that is because we're not willing to pay $13 a year to have an account on Facebook. Facebook has to make that up through collecting our personal information and using that to market products and services to us. Individuals and people say that Facebook knows more about you than you know about you. And as we saw through the Cambridge Analytica thing that happened in the US in the election, it's amazing how much these social media platforms do know about us. We typically want to use it as a mechanism to stay in touch, to fill up time, a little bit of entertainment, to share some of what we're doing, to have some conversations, to organize events. And sometimes there's another mechanism to be able to get through and complain to organizations. So we have some competing, I guess, interests. But the key with both of these is about understanding how we use social media to communicate to get the result that we're looking for. So when it comes to socially enabling your business, this is the recipe that I would recommend. Number one, we really want to start with having some sort of a basic website. We want to think about creating a blog, and we want to work at building an email list. And the reason for this is these are timeless marketing strategies. You know, one of the challenges with social media is you're only one post away from actually having your business account blocked. You don't own the information on there. In fact, you're passing all of that intellectual property across to these social media platforms. Yeah, Facebook is the largest media organization in the world, and they create zero of the media themselves. We then want to go and create our free business pages on Facebook, on Google Maps, and also on LinkedIn. So this is a first step, and each one of these is almost like a little miniature website. When you think about a website, it's pretty much like having a billboard in a forest. Yeah, you can have the world's best billboard, but if there's nobody walking past it, is it doing you any good? So the third step is we want to, on our website, install a Google Analytics pixel so that we can track how people find our website, how long they stay there, what pages they look at, and also our Facebook or LinkedIn tracking pixels. And the reasons why these are so important is it gives us a profile on who's visiting our website. It allows us to determine who our avatar is, and then we can create what's called mirror or matching audiences, which becomes very, very powerful for us to be able to market to more of our ideal customers. I know businesses that say, Jeremy, I don't want to get on social media because people might start saying bad things about my business. Well, here's the thing. They're going to say those things whether you're there or not. So customer service inquiries and complaints are inevitable. You need to look at these as really moments of opportunity for you to be able to step up and handle some of these conversations that will need to be had. In fact, feedback via social media will reveal key business issues to you and whether you are delivering on your promise as an organization or not. When it comes to Facebook these days, it's a lot of successful businesses are setting up communities where they're bringing together their top clients and people who like their products and allowing people to have conversations. But just a word of warning for if you're setting up these communities is that you can set them up with good intentions and they can rapidly run off the rails. Why? Because people will start pushing the boundaries or saying things they shouldn't, and to manage a community is actually quite resource intensive. So I wouldn't suggest it for startup businesses, but those further down the track may be worth having a look at. We're going to talk about the different types of content that we can create and put out there on social media, like I talked about memes. But we've also got to think about what is the right content that's appropriate that's going to help us achieve our goals. To be able to stay in touch with what's happening out there in the world, we can log on every day and we can have a look, but there's also some great third-party software tools that will allow us to really measure our social media reach, as well as what other people are saying about about our company and our products. Next point is about video. And a lot of people are shy about video and they think that they need to get professional video actually created. Well, one of the things is in our pockets these days, we all have a video production studio. And if you're willing to put yourself out there as the face of the business and put some video posts in your social media, they get lots more engagement than any other type of post. And yes, there is a little bit of an embarrassment about you might possibly stuff it up. But at the end of the day, video is the highest form of content, followed by other interactive forms of content, such as, for example, blogs, podcasts. And another reason for getting on social media is that, when Google's determining your search engine ranking, search engine optimization, social media activity is one of the factors that it definitely takes into account when it's deciding where you're going to appear in the search engine rankings. So it's a very simple 7-step process to getting started on social media. Number one, select your strategy. So we're going to talk about how do we figure out what our strategy is. Do we want to create awareness? Do we want to be able to create loyalty? Do we want to be able to bring in new customers? Secondly, we want to select the appropriate platforms. And my suggestion is start with just 1 or 2 first. Social media is a marathon, it's not a sprint. You see, the temptation many people have is they're going to jump in and they think, I'm going to start this and I'm going to post twice a day, every day. And without a strategy, people rapidly run out of steam because they don't get the results that they're looking for. The second step is with social media, with any platform, spend a lot more time listening before you actually start speaking, because you want to get a feel for the culture of the platform that you're on, what people are talking about. And this is, the secret with social media is you really want to add value, you want to educate, and if you sell, you want to sell softly. So as we move into a new social media platform, take some time to really just hang out on there and see what others are talking about, and understand that success leaves clues. So look at who's being most successful at doing what you'd like to do and get some ideas from them. Number 3 is thinking about communities, and understand that every single one of your ideal clients is already doing business with another business out there, and they're already part of some community. So we want to look at how do we engage with those right sorts of communities to get in contact with our ideal clients. We're going to talk about content generation, how we engage in conversations, and then the last 2 steps, the first 5 steps are all about figuring it out. Steps 6 and 7 are simply about fine-tuning and turning up the volume. And when you go through social media in this way, it's going to allow you to generate a return on investment. So Facebook makes it very, very easy for you to set up a company page. And then once you've done that, we can very easily invite everybody who we're already connected to. Now, once we run out of all those immediate connections, the question is, how am I going to add more connections beyond that? And the secret at the end of the day is, number one, we want to be able to share great content. When we share great content that people like, that people comment on, engage with, and share as well, that will get us in front of more and more people. We are much better off collaborating, that is finding other people on social media, other businesses on social media to collaborate with, to build followers, than we are to buy followers. So buying followers, there are, how do we say, third-party companies that will give you a promise. They say, we'll get you 200 followers for your business page in 3 days if you pay us X dollars. Now, the problem with that is many of those accounts are actually fake. And when you understand the way in which social media works, If you have, for example, 100 connections and you put a piece of content out there on social media, what will happen is the platform will first test it on 5 to 7 people that you're connected with. If none of those 5 to 7 people like it or comment on it, then the platform says this piece of content is obviously not relevant. So it doesn't show it to all of your other connections. So when you buy followers, they're probably fake accounts. They don't know you, they don't care about you. And what this means is that when you put posts out there, they won't go anywhere near as far as they ought to. So a small engaged network is much, much better than a large disengaged network. We always want to stay on brand and share relevant content. And remember I said social media is about conversations. So the more that we can actually get people engaged with what we're doing, and the latest example of this is Facebook Live, where we can live stream video direct from our mobile phone. And we can see who's actually coming in and sharing the conversation with us. We can see the likes, the dislikes, little comments. And this is once again being able to live share experiences with people. 85% of Facebook users consume video content with the sound off. So if you're pushing video content out on Facebook, it makes sense to think about using a subtitling service like rev.com that will go and put subtitles on your videos for you. Now, the reason why people are consuming it with the sound off is very often a lot of people's social media is actually something they do in the bathroom. When it comes to video on social media, you've got to understand that the big social media platforms like LinkedIn and Facebook, they want to do everything they can to keep you on the platform as long as possible. So if you put a video on YouTube and you share that on Facebook, that's going to get nowhere near the level of promotion through the Facebook network as if you took that same video and uploaded it to Facebook. So if you've got video content, you're best off natively uploading it onto the platforms. Just last week, Mark Zuckerberg announced that Facebook Shops is now live. So with your business page, you can now put products up there and directly sell products from your Facebook page. The fees are going to be low because, again, what Facebook is looking to do through this is not so much to make money from merchants, but to make money from eyeballs. Yeah, they understand what you're looking at and they will market all sorts of other products to you through that. So Instagram initially started out as a competitor to Facebook and it was bought out by Facebook. And the platforms basically sit side by side and they integrate very well. So whereas Facebook is more of a, family news, what's going on platform, Instagram is very much more a visual platform. And you'll notice that, especially with Instagram, if you've got a business that's quite visual in terms of the products that you deliver, then Instagram can be an amazing platform to get your message out there. So one example of a business that has done really well out of this, so it started with the bushfires and someone thought, how do I help the farmers? So they came up with this initiative called Buy from the Bush, created this hashtag and created a website, and basically this was a good news initiative. So social media is public relations at the end of the day. When you come up with these sorts of initiatives that add value, it's not just people in the social network that will get involved, it's very often people in the real media world who will get out there and help market this. So this Buy from the Bush hashtag, which has been going for just over 6 months now, is now over 230,000 followers. And they take products that are made in regional Australia, they promote them via their webpage, and they do very, very well out of this. And they use both an Instagram and a Facebook strategy. So it is possible to set up when you do put a post on Instagram to immediately publish it to Facebook as well. And this provides you a little bit more leverage across the platforms. However, I think you just need to be careful with Instagram and look at how do we make our posts as pretty as possible. Now, The greatest compliment anyone can give is, well, other people will get great ideas from what you do. So I wanted to now show you another business that saw this and thought, well, that's a great idea. I'm going to do something similar, but I'm going to create a wedding registry specific for sourcing products from regional Australia. And we're going to partner with Rural Aid. So with the gifts that you put that you want your wedding guests to buy for you, part of that you can also ask for them to give a donation to Rural Aid. So once again, have a look at some of these different websites and Facebook pages, and you can get some ideas on what they've done to be able to promote their businesses and causes. And when you do it right, social media doesn't need to cost a lot of money. All right, so there's a question there in terms of, is it worth boosting my posts on Facebook? And the answer is absolutely maybe. So as I mentioned earlier, when we put a post out there, it's not going to go to all of our contacts or friends. The distribution or reach will be based upon the level of interaction that the post has. However, we can boost the post, and the boost, especially when it comes to business pages. These days with business pages, you don't get a very large reach. So boosting a post will simply increase the number of people it's put in front of, but it will also enable you to be able to put the post in front of people who you're not already connected with. With marketing, we've always got to look at testing and measuring what we do. It's not about opinion, it's about what results did we get, what did it cost, and is it working? Another Facebook phenomenon who's just absolutely taken off during this COVID crisis is a comedian called Nat, and he's also a cook, and he started creating these videos around how do you cook end of days bolognese and chili con can't go outside. They're very explicit, but he's very funny at the same time. So he started out as using YouTube as the platform, and you can see on YouTube he's got almost 180,000 people subscribed to his channel. So every time he releases a new video, they actually get a little notice in YouTube. But the real synergy comes when we start combining these platforms. So taking that across to Facebook, he's got 1.2 million followers on Facebook now. So every time he's releasing a video, he puts it on YouTube, he shares it on Facebook, and it's just gone absolutely viral. And the same thing goes with, for example, blog posts. With your website, what you want to do over time is to have a blog and to develop relevant SEO-friendly content on your website using the keywords you want to be known for. And then we use social media as a mechanism to be able to promote it out there to more people. This is an example of Pinterest. So searching Pinterest for fitness. So Pinterest is a little bit like Instagram in terms of it's very visually rich. There's all sorts of infographics and quick tips on how to get started. And it allows us to also to be able to create pin boards or collections of images that we really like. Pinterest is a social media platform that's really quite popular, more with ladies than men. And again, if you've got a visual-based product, it may make sense for you to have a think about Pinterest as an additional mechanism for developing another audience. So when it comes to business, LinkedIn, there's over 600 million professionals on LinkedIn, and 80% of these are decision makers. So I wanted to share with you a few tips for how do you build a effective LinkedIn profile, because it's a very powerful tool when you understand how. Now, you can actually do a lot of business development on LinkedIn without having to subscribe to a paid account. The paid account simply gives you a few more features. It'll allow you to be able to see who's been viewing your profile and to be able to actually send inbox messages to people. I want to share with you a few keys to building a good profile. And a lot of people miss this. When you join with LinkedIn, it's important you have, number one, a professional headshot. Number two, see that banner image behind the photo? This is again, a free opportunity for you to be able to provide in 3 to 5 seconds enough information for people to understand what it is that you do. One of the critical bits of information, however, is the job title. And many people make the mistake, they'll put here director. Okay. And this job title is actually one of the critical pieces of information for search engine optimization for your profile. So instead of putting your job title, instead focus more on what are some of the problems that you solve. What are some of the solutions that you offer? And then you want to make sure that you write a fairly reasonable description of who you are and what you do in the about section. So LinkedIn also provides you the ability to be able to put your different job titles there, what you do. So you can see here, I'm not just a CEO or Chief Enthusiasm Officer for rapport leadership and a leadership trainer. I also do quite a bit of work on keynote speaking. So you'll notice I've got those as two separate position descriptions. And I've collected a whole suite of different testimonials on each one of these. One of the great things this enables you to do is to, again, build business credibility. And I'll talk a little bit about how we go about doing some business-to-business development through LinkedIn. It's really important on your profile as well to get some testimonials. And if you don't have any testimonials to begin with, my suggestion is have a think about who you could give some testimonials to. The old principle of reciprocity goes a long way on social media. So if you know some people who you've been in business with, provide them with testimonials, and they're very likely to write you one in return. The other great way to get testimonials is to look for those moments of opportunity. When you have a customer come to you and say, Jeremy, that was awesome. Thank you so much. And this is where we say you're welcome. But you know what? I'm working really hard to get a couple of testimonials. Would you be willing to help me with a testimonial? And here's the thing, people will say yes, but very often they won't follow through. So what you've got to do is to actually write the testimonial for them. So if they were to say, yes, Jeremy, I'll write you a testimonial, I'll say that's great. If there were 3 things that you would mention in there, what would they be in your own words? Okay, then I could take that and I could type that up and send that across to people. So that was what I used to begin with to start building testimonials. The other thing that gets you testimonials is going out there and doing great work in what you do. When you deliver great value, then you'll tend to get testimonials back in return without even having to ask for them. But this is all about social proof. When it comes to posting on LinkedIn, we want to, where we can, find ways to be able to engage with our audience. So we want to think about, number one, being on brand. In social media, we use these things called hashtags. And hashtags allow us to follow specific topics within LinkedIn. And so, for example, you can see in the post on the left, I use the hashtag leadership in action. So there's a bunch of people who follow that hashtag, and if enough people, so they will actually see that post without necessarily being connected to me. LinkedIn also has editors that go through, and when they see good posts, they will promote them. Again, LinkedIn, like Facebook, their objective is to maximize the amount of time that you spend on the platform. So you can see that one post that I put out there had over 4,399 views. It had 3 comments and it had 60 people like it. Another type of post you can actually do is an offer post. So you can see on the right hand side here, I put an offer, download a bulletproof confidence builder tool, detailing 3 secret ingredients and 10 easy steps to empower your brain, supercharge your thinking, and enable effortless bulletproof confidence whenever you need it. Want a copy? Comment bulletproof below and I'll send you the link. So this was just some text and an image. And you can see there were 24 likes and 54 people put in there, send me that information. So each one of those 54 is a specific sales opportunity. When someone asks you for information, it means they're interested. You You also on LinkedIn want to think about creating some content or some articles. And while traditionally you'd post these on your blog site, if you put them up on LinkedIn as articles, then again, LinkedIn is much more likely to promote them. So you can see a couple of those articles that I've put up there have had over 20,000 views each. And the one on the left, the why 85% of employees are ready to leave, again, the Sydney Morning Herald picked up on that one. They saw my article that I put on LinkedIn. They came to me, they said, Jeremy, it's a great article. Do you mind if we put it in the newsletter? And the answer obviously was, absolutely, you're welcome to. So this is a little bit about being a thought leader in the industry that you're a part of. So when it comes to building followers on social media, if you're starting out, obviously we connect with people that we know first. Second step is to email the people you know and ask them to connect with you. We want to make sure that we take time to like and interact with other people's posts. Yeah, if you're just pushing media out there, why should anyone else like and comment on your post if you're not liking and commenting on their posts? You know, there are some great groups on Facebook like Business. It's a group specific to business owners and business owners reaching out and asking for help. So again, with those sorts of forums, join those groups and add value. And as you do that, you start to become known and people will connect with you. Create a promotion or special offer. So you can see here that a lady by the name of Tupperware Sally has created a new business page, and she's actually created a little offer. So she's giving away a baking and snack center. And if you want to win the set, you need to click on the link, share my page, and put a comment on it with your favorite product. So that's one example of a little low-cost promotion that can potentially help you to build some followers for your page. And like before, I mentioned, never buy followers. So what do users want from you? When surveyed on what users really want most from engaging with companies on social media, the number one thing they wanted was discounts. Number two things was they loved giveaways or competitions. But there's a very powerful tool within the pages that you create on Facebook to actually also be able to manage events. So from online webinars to meetups in person. So it's a very powerful tool to do that. To provide product information, information about our brand, and also to run feedback forums. Remember, social media is a conversation. So don't always be talking, instead think about social media as a mechanism to listen and to get feedback from real world customers on what they really most want from you moving forward. You can see Facebook now, this is a fairly new feature as well, actually has offers. So if on your business page you put an offer, Facebook now has a specific section in there where you can go and look for offers in your area. So they've obviously seen the business model of Groupon and they want to think about, well, again, how do we stop people going off platform to get offers and instead look after the people who are staying on platform. So, you know what the toughest thing with social media is? You say, I'm going to post something every Tuesday, and then you get to Tuesday and go and sit down. And it's like, I don't know what to say. I'm lacking inspiration. So one of the secrets to social media is we need to get a little bit creative. And to get into a creative space takes a little bit of time and a little bit of effort. So my suggestion is you actually want to create a social media calendar. We want to sit down, maybe with a glass of red wine, could be a glass of orange juice, but to sit down and really brainstorm what sort of content can we create. And the best content at the end of the day is something that's really, really relevant to what's going on right now. And you'll notice that a lot of the headlines in the media at the moment and advertising, it's all about COVID-19. Why? Because that's top of everybody's mind. So there's a tool that's part of Google called google.com/alerts, and you can put in there specific keywords. So for example, I've got one on my name. So once a week, if anyone mentions Jeremy Carter on a blog, on social media, or on the internet, I'll actually get a little email which summarizes what's going on. And I also use this to follow other topics that will give me ideas about things that I might want to talk about on social media. If we go back and we look at some of the topics related to your product or service, so let's say, for example, an accountant, so we could talk about business activity statements, we could talk about tax planning, we could talk about structuring of companies. So what we want to do, and in the handouts for today, by the way, you get a template that will help you in doing this. So we want to list all the topics, and then we want to think about, well, what's the appropriate way to talk about this? So we could have a rant. What frustrates me? As an accountant, the number one thing that frustrates me is the number of business owners who come and talk to me and their accountant hasn't educated them on really what the numbers mean in their business. So a rant is very powerful for us to be able to put out a topic for discussion on social media, but we're going to make sure that we're talking about something related to the product or service that we offer. A question and answer is a great way to get engaged on social media. People love when they can put their questions up to be answered. We could post a specific way to solve a problem, a case study, a useful tool. So all of these things are very powerful, and where we want to, where we can, is to make sure we really take advantage of the visual part of social media. So you can see on the right-hand side the Know Your Lemons campaign, which is a very powerful way to educate the marketplace on some of the things to be aware of in terms of early changes in breast cancer. So that was one of the top social media campaigns from 2019. Again, if it's done right, your marketplace will do a lot of the work for you. Yeah, this is a fun, it's interactive, it's clear, and it makes it simple for people to be able to share that. And it's much more powerful that someone shares your content than you have to pay for that content to be shared. So once we've created all of those different pieces of content, what we want to do is to sit down and in one session, basically schedule 2 to 3 months of content in advance. And all you really need is, if you came up with one piece of content a week, okay? And on top of that, you found a way to share someone else's content, or found some other ways to engage. So there was 2 or 3 social media interactions from your company per week, you would be streets ahead of everybody else out there. And if you've already defined the topics, it makes it a lot easier. You no longer have to worry about what am I going to talk about, because it's already planned. You just need to step up and actually talk about it. Of course, with different businesses, there's different times of the year that are really important. So with accountants, it becomes there's the end of financial year and BAS lodgement dates. We also want to make sure we avoid dead zones. And for a lot of companies in Australia, basically from after the Melbourne Cup until Australia Day, people aren't paying a lot of attention about new business. But I know for other businesses, that's their busiest time of year. So we really want to make sure that we're talking when people are listening. And this is another secret to understand, that we need to also be posting at the right time. Now, there's some of the social media gurus out there who say you should be posting 20 times a day. And, in reality, the data shows that there's really, and this was an experiment about how many social media posts per week will generate you how many visits to your website. So if you're doing 8 social media posts a month, which is 2 a week, that's going to generate you about 4 visitors to your website. You can see there that moving to 12, you're still really not generating any more visitors. So don't think you have to do a lot. You don't need to post every day. If you could find a way to post something twice a week, you'll be headed in the right direction. And it doesn't always have to be a big piece of content. There's, in terms of memes, there's something called a meme generator, where you can very quickly select a quick image, put a headline along with it, and punch it out there as a very quick way to communicate to your client base. We also want to have a think about when is the right time to put our posts out there, because there's what's called the golden hour in first aid. And, after something happens, after a trauma occurs, we've got an hour to save somebody's life. And the same thing goes with your social media post. If you put it out there and no one engages with your post within the first hour, it will die. So you can see here that really the times between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. are the best time for when the most number of people are out there. For LinkedIn, the best times have been proven to be Tuesday, Wednesday mornings around 10 a.m. Because what the secret is you want people to interact with your post very, very quickly. Now, I know some people, they will actually partner up with other businesses and they'll all post at the same time, and they will share and like and comment on each other's posts. And this will enable the content to go a lot further. When it comes to engagement, Mark Zuckerberg in 2018, understand that, he's really focused on retaining the people on the platform. And to do that, he needs to make sure that the content that they see is relevant to them. And it used to be if you created a business page and people followed that page and you put a post out there, pretty much everyone would see it. But Facebook's come up with a new algorithm. So if you've got a business page and you're putting posts out there that people aren't reacting to or comment on, then they're getting through to very, very few people. So this is why you really need to think more and more about that two-way conversation through social media. It's not about what you've got to say. It's about finding ways to engage people in a informative and educational way. In fact, I would call the economy that we're in at the moment, it's called edutainment. Yeah, a combination of education and entertainment. You put those two things together, you can create great results. This is an example of a social media campaign by Marvel when they were launching Ant-Man. And instead of putting up massive billboards all over town, what they did was they put these miniature ones, and they put a challenge out there to people to go and find them. Would you rather pay to install a tiny billboard like this or a large billboard at $5,000 a month? This was a great viral marketing campaign where, again, people went out there, they found these, they followed the clues, they found these billboards, and then they shared them all over social media for the brand. So understand, as business owners, there's a lot we've got to do, and you've got to not let social media get in the way of doing what you have to do in terms of service delivery, looking after your clients. So as we move through social media, we need to make sure we test and measure what we're doing. It's good to actually keep a little scorecard to be able to measure our results, to measure your progress in terms of the number of followers, the number of interactions, the number of leads that you generate from social media, to look at what's working for other people and to test new initiatives. And, optimization is just about, you'll find a sweet spot and you repeat what works and you stop doing what doesn't work. But what you also want to do is, to build a great business, you need a great team. And to have a great social media presence requires you to have a great social media team. So I want you to think about potentially building a social media marketing team, and it doesn't need to cost the earth. There's agencies that'll come in and do it for you. They'll say, listen, $3,000 a month and we'll do it all. But there's no need to spend anywhere near that amount. There's what's called the gig economy. So to get people to generate content for you, to write articles, to create memes, to come up with ideas, there's a website called Fiverr. And this is all about, it used to be when it started, if you wanted anything done for $5, then you could do that. But this is a great way to start thinking about, how could I get some pieces of my social media actually outsourced and created for me? Because again, you want to create all of your content in blocks to make it easy. So let's say you were recording some videos. My suggestion is record all the video content at once, go and find yourself a video editor on Fiverr, and they will put it all into then little chunks that you can put out there and share with the marketplace. So, advertising on social media. The social media platforms are there to make a profit, and they do make it easy to get into advertising. They don't make it easy to get a great result. So you'll notice once you create a business page, Facebook will continue to come up time and again and say, do you want to boost this post so it gets through to more users? And understand this is quick and doesn't typically, it's quick and it's easy, but it's not great value. The back end of Facebook, the advertising engine, is just incredibly powerful in terms of being able to target people. And my suggestion here when you're looking at advertising on social media is consider getting an expert to help you, because what you've got to be able to do is generate a return on investment. So in terms of measuring and testing, you can see down the bottom there's a little graphic around, well, a full marketing campaign might cost us $1 a click to run a Facebook ad. If we're smart, we're not just going to send that to our website, we're going to send it to a landing page. So a landing page is basically a one-page website that says, do you want something? Yes or no. With the audience, we can then create videos that we remarket back to them. So we might send a value video, which gets people to fill out a survey, which locks people into our calendar to actually have a conversation. So we can see right through this process here, we can see what it's costing us to get to a one-to-one conversation in a calendar, or to be able to generate a client out of this. And, you know, again, Google AdWords as well, it's easy to spend money, but if you are not targeting the right audience, what you'll tend to do is generate a lot of leads that really aren't relevant. Now, I don't know if you've ever noticed that you visit a website and then suddenly their ads follow you around the internet wherever you go. And this is something called retargeting, which again, if you're looking into marketing, it's a very, very powerful tool to make sure that, you know, understand if someone visits your website, they're probably thinking about it, but not ready to buy now. So this retargeting or remarketing is a very low cost way to stay in contact with these customers and to continue to market to them. And this can greatly increase your return on investment with the marketing that you do. So we covered a lot of content today, and understand that knowledge is not power. It's only when we put knowledge into action that it becomes powerful. So if you don't do anything different, then typically we go backwards. Many people do little things in their business and, you know, they end up just to maintain the status quo. But if you want to create a better future, you need to think about doing some things that you haven't done before, or potentially being a business that you haven't been before. And this is about either changing what you do or the way in which you put yourself out there to the marketplace. And this is one of the great things with social media, because we can do this very rapidly and very quickly. So it's easy after this webinar to go back and get distracted. But what I'd really like you to do is to make sure that you reflect back over what we covered here and think about, well, what are the top 3 things that I can put into action in the next 7 days based upon this? Because here's the thing, if you don't do it in the next week, it won't happen at all. There's also a feedback survey. I'll just put the link back up here again. And if you can complete that, then if you can complete that survey, then you can download a copy of the slides and also the resources that I mentioned with the content creator and the social media calendar. And once you hit submit on that survey, it'll give you the link to be able to download that. If you'd like more information, my contact details are there. And also on that feedback form, there is the option if you'd like to opt in for a one-to-one conversation. We can have a little chat about your business and how to get social media working well for you. I'd like to thank Canterbury Bankstown Economic Development Department for sponsoring this webinar and making it a possibility. They're really excited about getting behind business. And this is the first of hopefully a few more webinars to come to support local business owners. So in the survey, we'd love if you could tell us what topics you would like to see in the future to support you as business owners. The council also asked me to mention the fact that they've just released some new business grants, specifically for cafes and restaurants, to assist them in marketing, to bring their customers back after this period of shutdown. So you can find more information about that on the Canterbury Bankstown website, or by emailing the email address business@cbcity.nsw.gov.au. If you enjoyed today, we'd love if you could put a word out there on social media using the hashtag KeepConnectedCBTV. And this wraps up our first series of webinars, but hopefully we'll be able to announce more in the near future. So thank you all for coming today. Really appreciate you taking the time out of your day.